Hello, friends. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eli Beckman. I'm the mayor. We've got our assistant town manager and town clerk, Rebecca Vaughn. We've got our communications and code enforcement manager, Mike Moriarty. We've got our planning and building director, Adam Wolf. And we've got our interim parks and rec director, Rochelle Gretschman-Dibley, on the line. Thank you guys for being here. We'll start with just some quick updates, and then we'll just open it up to the residents for any questions or comments, anything you guys want to talk about. I had a few quick updates that I wanted to talk about, mainly stuff stemming from our last council meeting, just in case anybody missed it. First one is that the town authorized submission of an appeal on arena numbers. That I think, it's kind of a buzzy headline, but I think there's more to that discussion. ABAG assigned us 725 units that we need to provide for, new housing over the next 8-year cycle. We think that that's a pretty high number. Obviously, there's not much land left to build on here in Corte Madera. It's also more than a tenfold increase in our previous RENA numbers. We did appeal that number, but obviously the state is taking a very hard line in their approach to the housing crisis, and they're really pushing hard to make sure that cities are in a position where we don't really have any option but to provide for these these units, mostly through zoning. Obviously, Corte Madera is not in the business of building housing, but we have to be providing for developers to build housing should they want to through zoning. All of this I think touches on a much larger housing discussion that we're going to get into in the coming years as we start redeveloping our housing element, and Adam will be able to offer a lot more detail and insight on this. But I just wanted to put this on folks' radars. I wanted to let you guys know that we did appeal the RENA numbers because we think they're insane, but that does not mean that we think our appeal is going to be accepted. We asked for them to revise our numbers down from 725 new units to 500. I think 500 is still really high. And like I just said, we're not expecting them to grant that appeal anyways. So this is all going to be part of a discussion. I think, this was really an expression of, kind of Corte Madera's position on the matter. Well, I'll speak for myself personally. I am not anti-housing. I'm not anti-growth. But I do think that the numbers that we're seeing are just kind of crazy, right? If we built 725 new units of housing in Corte Madera and they were all occupied, that would increase our town's population by like 15 or 20%. And then of course, it's where does the infrastructure, to serve all those new units come from? It's a huge and very complex discussion that I think touches on a whole lot of areas. And we're really, I think, just kind of starting to enter the thick of it with this RENA appeal, with the new RENA cycle. And as we enter that housing element discussion, that's the housing element of our general plan over the coming years. So more on that. I just kind of wanted to put that on folks' radar and make sure people know that, this housing discussion is going to be coming up. A couple other things I wanted to touch on. At our last council meeting, we did approve the creation of our first undergrounding utilities district in Corte Madera. I think this is an exciting step forward. We heard from a lot of residents, especially in the hillside neighborhoods, who are really concerned about fire. That they would really love to see Corte Madera look harder at undergrounding. I think we've heard folks on that. None of this is to say that we're going to be able to, get any sort of really widespread undergrounding. And I think we would love ultimately to underground all of our hillside neighborhoods or even all of town. But I think that is a pretty ambitious goal, especially when we look at the cost of these projects. What this little kind of pilot project is really, I think, a first step forward. And if we're able to proceed with it successfully, get funding from PG&E and underground the lines in this district that's at Lower Redwood Avenue and Edison Avenue, it's going to, I think, teach us a lot, answer a lot of our questions about what would wider undergrounding look like in Corte Madera. What are the costs? What are the pros? What are the cons? What does the whole process look like? So I think, we'll learn a lot from that. At the same time, we do have underway right now a kind of comprehensive study of undergrounding in Corte Madera that was requested by residents in our hillside neighborhoods, and that was called for by our climate adaptation assessment. So that's moving forward. RJ can speak more to that if I missed anything, but just want to make sure folks know that we did kind of take this small step forward at our last council meeting. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is just some exciting physical improvements over on the east side of town. We've got the the Paradise Drive sidewalk widening project going on right now. So that's that stretch of the sidewalk on Paradise Drive between, I think like Seawolf and San Clemente. That's pretty narrow, pretty bumpy, not a particularly safe or enjoyable experience for people using it. And it's used quite frequently by kids going to and from school. So we obviously want to make sure that that's a safe route to school. So that sidewalk improvement is going on there. After that happens, it's going to pave the way for, no pun intended, I guess, our road work project. That's going to be a lot of streets in the east side. principally Paradise Drive, which is I know of critical importance to a lot of East Side residents. That's really, our primary way in and out of, our neighborhoods over here, and it's incredibly bumpy. I've been getting a lot of comments on that street for years now. And I agree. I think anybody who lives on the East Side knows that it's a pretty rough ride. So I'm really excited that is moving forward. And I want to thank RJ and his staff for the really ambitious slate of projects that you guys are moving forward for us. I think I have yapped enough, so I will turn it over to any of our department heads who want to give any updates, and then we will go to the public. Anybody have anything they want to share? Yeah, let's go Mike and then RJ.
Mine's relatively minor, but we've engaged the services of a second code enforcement position part-time, and he's finishing up his training with Adam, our other code enforcement officer. And so we should anticipate rolling out a 7-day-a-week hybrid schedule here in the next week. And so there's, we're around, we're making a big difference in town with some of the nuisance issues and vehicle abatements, the dogs off the leash, a lot of the things that our residents have asked for some additional attention. And so we're seeing a lot of progress. Unfortunately, we are seeing a lot of homeowners performing rather significant construction projects without building permits. And it puts us in a position we don't like to be in, where we have to stop the work and have our residents contact the building department to secure permits, and it just delays the ability to, the whole process. It slows everything down. So you can imagine if you're in the middle of a kitchen remodel and you didn't have a permit and we have to red tag you, that permit could take weeks to get. And so now you've, and when I say you, I'm just saying that the scenario, they're put in a really unpleasant situation. And so if you know someone that's talking about doing a remodel, if you're intending to do a remodel, please get the message out to just call us ahead of time. Let's get you in here to talk with someone, develop a plan, have a strategy. And so you're not put in a position where your time is no longer accounted for. So, but anyway, thank you.
Great, thanks, Mike. And I also wanted to pass on to you. I've heard several thanks from residents. I guess I didn't even know about this, but I guess you guys put out a communication recently, just kind of letting folks know about the permitting process and kind of summarizing what types of things you do or don't need permits for. And I know residents have been really appreciative of that, because I think, folks found it really, illuminating, and said, I didn't realize that I needed permits for these things. So it's helpful to know ahead of time. Otherwise, I might have just gone ahead and went for it without getting permits, and of course, like you just said, that can lead to delays and all sorts of frustration. So thank you guys for doing that.
Oh, thanks for the feedback too. So we've done that in the newsletter. You've probably seen it in our Friday newsletter, probably 3 or 4 times over the last 6 weeks. And because we continue to have those issues, and we just try to reach out, it's on a reader board out in front of the rec center. So, we do not want to penalize anyone. That's the last position that any of us want to be in. And it's really the hardest part of our job is having to be this bureaucratic checks and balances position, but we're doing it to, protect your home and the residents in Corte Madera, and protect the home values as well. So thank you.
Great, thanks. Let's go to RJ.
Yeah, I just wanted to elaborate on some of the projects you mentioned. Obviously, the big one that just kind of started up right after the holiday was the Paradise Drive Sidewalk Widening. So they're out there starting the demo, and our goal is to really have it open and completed the portion between Seawolf and Harbor before school starts. That way kids can use that part of the path and then swing over to Echo and use that kind of dirt pathway. There will also be a facility on the other side, the south side of the street, if they want to stay on that, kind of sidewalk network where they can cross over and cross back, once school starts. But, it's a lot to complete in a short amount of time, and we're really kind of doing everything we can to work with the contractor to kind of speed it along. But we have a couple contingency measures should they not be able to hit the schedule as planned. Things like concrete in particular this time of year, given COVID and materials, is actually really hard to come by. So there's some other challenges that we're dealing with that we weren't otherwise kind of frequently used to dealing with in the past. And then separately, on the undergrounding, we think it's a warranted project, a justified project, an important project. And but it's as mentioned at the council meeting, it's one of several tools that we have, and I think this analysis will speak to that more, and so will our fire folks who are the experts. But obviously we don't want to forget about home hardening and other things. So, but it's definitely we felt enough justification to recommend that to council, and glad that council was fully supportive.
Great, thanks, RJ. And you just reminded me of something else that I wanted to add about that project, which was just to kind of explain what the purpose behind it is. So obviously, I think when we hear the term undergrounding, a lot of us immediately think about fire prevention, and we hear about the Kincaid fire, the Paradise fire that were started by PG&E lines, trees hitting them. That's actually not what the focus is in this particular project. So we've heard repeatedly from our fire experts, that's the Central Marin Fire Department and the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, that the type of lines that we have specifically in Corte Madera's hillside neighborhoods are not likely candidates for starting fires. And so what we're doing here with this undergrounding project is we're undergrounding power wires at a choke point in Christmas Tree Hill's evacuation path, which is Lower Redwood Avenue, with the idea being that if a power line were to fall across Redwood Avenue in an emergency, it would prevent folks from having a way to get safely off the hillside. And so that's the real impetus behind this project here, is making sure that we're protecting the evacuation route from Christmas Tree Hill, and making sure that we're not setting ourselves up for a situation where folks could potentially be trapped on the hill by a power line that's fallen and that they can't drive across. So thanks for reminding me of that, RJ. Appreciate it. Anybody else want to share any updates before we open this up to the public here? All right, and if not, we will turn it over now to our residents on the line. So if you want to ask any questions or make any comments or chat with us about anything, please just go ahead and raise your hand on Zoom here. We're going to start with Jonna and then go to Heinz and then Steve.
I got a question that I've been asked a few times lately, and I don't know the answer to it. So I'm going to ask all of you and see who does have the answer to it. In the last few days, the two porta potties at Menke Park have been moved from their formerly obscure location at the south end of Menke Park to a very prominent location at the entrance to Menke Park next to the bus shelter. And it seems like a lot of people find that offensive. They don't want to see porta potties up front and center at the entrance to Menke Park, and they want the NRG trailer moved back to that position and the porta potties moved down past the end of First Street, where they aren't the first thing people see when they're entering that part of Corte Madera. And I wonder if anybody knows how that happened.
Yeah, RJ.
Yeah, so I actually became aware of that today. I don't know where the request came from, but it did make it to our mains department, who did relocate them. But I also at the same time this morning received other requests for it to be moved to a different location. Point is, and I think originally it was maybe some of the businesses thought it was unsightly and maybe adding some odors. So I think that might have been the original request to have it moved. Ultimately, we're open to where they go. Obviously we want it to be in a location that serves the public, and then separately we want it to be in a location that is accessible to those with disabilities. So those are the primary criteria, and happy to get any thoughts from you and others on what is the best spot.
RJ, would you maybe recommend that residents follow up with you offline or your
absolutely.
department?
Yeah, feel free to email me directly. So R Suko, my last name, shown on the screen, at tcmmail.org. And you can also include our maintenance lead, Jamie King, so J King at tcmmail.org.
Thank you, RJ, and thanks, Jonna. Good point. Obviously, porta potties at the entrance to your public space is not necessarily how you put your best foot forward.
Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you, Jonna. We're going to go to Heinz next, followed by Steve and then Pat.
I have a question about the Paradise Drive. So you're doing that construction, which is obvious. What's going to happen to the lanes? Are they going to be narrower? And that's one question. Then the other question is, when are you going to repave Paradise Drive? That was supposed to be done this year. And is there anything on the plans now for doing that? because those humps in front of the retirement home, they're playing hell with my car.
Yeah, happy to jump in. So we're two separate projects. So one is the sidewalk project. We have federal funding for that. So that's the one that just started up. You'll see if you drive through there that it's neck down to one lane, but that's just a temporary condition due to construction. The former, what we call the face of curb, is going to move 3 feet closer into the lane. So there'll be a little bit of a reduction in the kind of shoulder of the road, the little pavement between the previous kind of edge stripe and the face curb. The lanes will get tightened down to 10 feet. And then there's a couple of choke points on the median that'll get reduced, but once it's all complete, you'll still have 2 full vehicle lanes. And then separate of that, we have a project coming just behind it, probably September or so, that will do a full repavement of that portion of the roadway on Paradise Drive between San Clemente and Seawolf, both sides. So it's a coordinated effort. There might be a little downtime in between, but it's all part of this year's CIP program.
Okay, I'll look forward to the results.
Great, thank you, Heinz. And
Okay.
RJ, oh, sorry, Heinz, did you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great, thank you, sir. RJ, since you mentioned a couple choke points in the median there, I just want to add, I checked in with you earlier on this, and you said we weren't going to lose any planting on the median. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I want to say the total slimming of the medians is maybe 2 feet. So, and the kind of healthier, larger vegetation is kind of more central in the median. If we lose anything, it's just a kind of a little bit of a low grassy or mulch type area. But yeah, I think about 2 feet total reduction in that overall median width.
Okay,
and
great.
in each spot, maybe order magnitude 30 feet or so.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. We're going to go to Steve next, followed by Pat.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is probably go to Mike, I would think, but maybe you, RJ. I live up on Hawthorne Lane, and I'm wondering when that's going to get repaved. It's breaking up, and it's almost turned into a gravel road. It hasn't been paved or had anything done to it since they town annexed it, I guess you'd call it, in 1971, I believe, when I first moved over here. And it hasn't had any maintenance or work since then, and it really needs it.
Yeah, if we want to move on to another question, in the meantime, I can look up a couple, I can look up the rating and then come back to it in a few minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Steve?
Yeah, it's fine. Thank you.
I
Okay,
also
great.
have Steve's contact information, and we can contact him offline. And
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you, Steve. And
Okay,
thank you.
So you'll contact me offline then? No?
Looks like yes. And yeah, they'll contact you offline, or RJ will report back in this meeting. One way or another, you'll get your answer.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thanks, Steve. All right, we're going to go to Pat, followed by Phyllis, and then back to Jonna.
Hi there. First of all, so glad you guys are still doing this. Thank you so much for opening yourself to the community. The subject of bathrooms and porta-johns seems to be a tricky one for Corte Madera, beginning to think it's kind of our Achilles heel a little bit. So I just hope we'll really invest some time in how to work those, maybe for the short term, down in places like Carpinteria and Santa Cruz. They have porta-johns and they put up like lattice or just some of them even do like cool outhouse kind of imagery. And it's pretty inexpensive to do and might be a way to kind of disguise things a little bit. But that said, the porta-johns in any capacity don't belong at the entryway to Menke Park, which is really becoming an important part of the town. And as Rebecca has said many times, when people move out here to Corte Madera from the city, they're sort of expecting a kind of cultural, cultural proficiency or cultural liveliness or going on. And I really think that Menke Park has the opportunity to offer that. We saw on the 4th of July, the amazing event. And why not food trucks every week, guys? Why not a Wednesday night food truck or something to bring the community together? All of these community places are community centers just waiting to happen if we have the right kind of things going on. But first, maybe we should get the bathroom straight. And I really think along that line, that is a temporary thing, at least, if not permanent, we should find a way to open up the existing restrooms in the recreation center. They were always open before. It was pre-COVID that they were closed. So it's not because of COVID that they're closed. But it used to be when I was pushing a stroller down through the rec department area, the lobby was open and you could go into the bathroom and you could get a drink from the water fountain. And there was a Twin Cities Times on the table. And there was a bulletin board that had people looking for babysitters or people, whatever. This was before Nextdoor. And it really was what to me makes it a community center. And so anyway, you guys have a lot on your plate. Maybe if you guys just focus on the bathrooms, everything else will take care of itself. But opening the lobby would be a really great way. When I see those hundreds of people in our parks and even the porta-johns and those little bathrooms, all you got to do is open up the lobby, get the computers out of there, make it safe, and then see how we do. I know people say, oh, there's going to be vandalism, but I think people commit vandalism when they get shuttered out of public buildings. I think we need to have a more open and welcoming sense down there. So just my 3 cents. I know I never give 2 cents. I always give 3. Thank you for listening.
Great, thank you, Pat. And a couple of really good points that you brought up there. And I guess, Rochelle, are you able to speak to, I didn't realize that the community center lobby and bathrooms weren't open to the public. Is that a temporary thing, or can you speak to that a little bit?
I don't know, honestly.
Okay.
I will say that it is impossible, the way the building is set up right now, to be able to lock access to the rest of the building. So to have someone out in the front obviously would take care of that part. But we can't just leave it open when the building's not open, because there's not a way to secure the rest of the building. The only part of the building that's on alarm are the offices. So, and there's no locks on the double doors that lead from the lobby into the building. So, you know, it would take having a staff person there, and we're short staffed as it is right now. So, I mean, it's not just, unfortunately, it's not just that easy. I know what Pat's saying. That's like that in the jurisdiction I came from. But I'm not really sure the history because I haven't been here that long.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, yeah, let's see if maybe, I don't know if it could be something as simple as getting, you know, installing locks on those double doors that lead from the lobby into the main portion. I don't know if, you know, stationing a staffer at that desk would be disruptive to their workflow if we tried to make that, like, you know, just their desk where they do their normal work. And
Mayor Beckman, that was the front office space when
right, I recall that.
COVID. So it was open to the public during business hours, and they always had someone staffed there so people could walk in and pick up tennis keys or walk in and enroll in a class. But it wasn't, I don't know how long it's been since the facility was open on evenings and weekends as just a matter of course, but it was prior to COVID open during business hours.
Okay, yeah, I maybe evenings and weekends being closed makes sense, but I think you know, if it were open, I mean, I think what Pat's saying to me seems perfectly reasonable, right? You'd expect during business hours your community center public facilities like the bathroom to be accessible. So maybe that's something we can work on. And then the other question that I wanted to ask based on what Pat brought up was the porta potties. And I was just curious, Rochelle, does all this kind of tie into the ongoing master planning process for Parks and Rec? Because I was, you know, oh, go ahead.
In my opinion, it does. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think those are all things that are going to be looked at when that all happens, but that's pretty far out. So I know that Todd was talking about having a little different sort of porta potties, which I wouldn't even call porta potties. I was explaining to him in San Rafael, we have the San Rafael Pacifics, and in that stadium, we bring in portable restroom facilities every year that are lockable on a timed lock. So you could have them open for a day. They're serviced by whoever, Mill Valley Refuse or whatever company, United Site Services. There's a bunch of those companies that do that. And they would come in and, you know, clean the facility a few times a week and that kind of thing. And they're a little bit nicer, and they're a little bit, well, they're wheelchair accessible completely, which is nice. They don't need hookups to water like mains or anything like that either. So I think when the building's under construction here eventually, that's going to need to happen for sure. And I think in the short term, that might be an option as
Sure.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. And Pat, I appreciated your point about, to the extent that we are relying on porta potties, kind of, I don't want to say long-term, but like intermediate term maybe, and not as like for a specific event or for a weekend, if we were able to, just like throw up a 4-post wooden frame around them and throw some lattice on it or something, just something so that we're not looking at, blue plastic or whatever. That's a nice idea. Anyways, Pat, thank you very much for sharing all that. Was there anything else you wanted to chat about?
Boy, yes, I could just talk forever, but no, everything's going great. I love the paint job on Tamil Vista and Madera. Great job, RJ. I need to stop telling everyone what a great job you're going to do, because someone's going to come recruit you away from us. So, and Jared and Adam and Mike, all of you guys are doing a great job. Our staff is phenomenal right now, and it's an exciting time to be here in Corte Madera.
Great. Thank you so much, Pat. And with that, we're going to go to Phyllis next and then back to Jonna.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for accepting my call. I'm going to follow up on the porta potty thing, actually, and that is also hand in hand with a fun thing to say. We are actually going to have an Oktoberfest this year. Yay. So, yeah. So having those porta potties away from the main entrance to Oktoberfest, please. We've always had them down at the other end, of course, and that would be most helpful. And I agree with Pat, putting something like a lattice work around them would help some. Then the businesses, their customers wouldn't be actually just looking at, the big blue or green or whatever color they happen to be. But yes, that's going to be a big event for us this year, because we couldn't have one last year. So I think I know there's going to be a lot of interest. There already is. And it's going to be great. It's going to be on October 9th. So if they could please be moved away from where our entrance is, which is the main entrance to Menke Park, then that would be great. I appreciate that. And RJ, thank you for the work that you all and your team has been doing. And with the beautification bit, I know you're doing the best that you can, but the streets are looking good. So thank you for that.
Great. Thank you very much, Phyllis. And thank you to all of the, community organizations and also, our staff, to the extent that they're supporting, who have been able to put together this Oktoberfest. I know that the community is really looking forward to it. So hats off to everybody who's made that possible.
Could I tag in one more thing, Eli, before I get off? And
yeah, please.
That is the memorial that has been placed near the Corte Madera Larkspur Trail for Clyde Marquardt. There's one that talks about our street tree program for the beautification committee. There's a crepe myrtle that's planted there, and then there's another boulder. There's the information about Marquardt Lagoon. I'm curious who put those up, and I'm especially curious because we, the beautification committee, were going to do one for Clyde, and we didn't do that one. So
RJ, was that you guys, or was that like a private effort, or?
Yeah, I believe it was led by our maintenance team, but also our town manager took a lead role in coordinating that as well. I wasn't super involved myself, but yeah, I heard it all went very smooth and was well received.
Oh, it's a great location for the whole thing because a lot of people do use that path, and they may even get over there and look at it. So I sent pictures to our committee, and the committee members were happy to see it too, but we were just surprised because we didn't know who had done it. And now we're thinking maybe we'll do a plaque on a bench somewhere that would be just from us, but otherwise, it was a great acknowledgement of the street tree program too with Clyde. So thank you, Eli, as representative of the town, as mayor.
I can't take any credit, but
I have a feeling it was Todd, but he's not with you today.
we will certainly pass along your thanks.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Phyllis. And we're going to come back to Jonna now.
No, I unmuted myself. I mean, I took myself off.
Oh, sorry, I was seeing your hand up. My bad. Okay, so nothing else? All right, I suppose not. Okay, we're going to go to Susie, and then back to Phyllis, and then to Lucinda.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm going to say it again. I'm going to just reiterate the same thing that seems to be a bathroom day. And I agree with everybody. And if somebody's concerned about them being smelly, we need to make sure they're clean. That is the town's responsibility. And we've got to have nice porta potties. There are all kinds of options, and I just agree with everyone. And that's just another person to say it's a priority. You can't wait until the big reports are through and all that stuff. This is too important. So that's all.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Appreciate it. And I know that if Todd were here, I think one thing he would say is that the fact that we're all talking about bathrooms means we're doing a pretty killer job on the big issues. But the other thing that I would say is that if this many residents at our little chat have come forward to talk about porta potties, I think we are seeing that that despite seeming like a little issue, it is something that is a big concern to folks. So I would say definitely point taken, and we hear you loud and clear. Which is not to say that if there's other folks who want to share their thoughts on porta potties, that you're still welcome to. So we're going to go to Lucinda next, and then back to Phyllis.
Oh, hi. Thank you all for continuing the chats. I think they're wonderful. RJ, I just wanted to issue a thank you for somehow managing to keep the street cleaning endeavors alive and well. In spite of the water shortage. Not sure how you're able to do it, but thank you, thank you, thank you. It's nice to have Altaway cleaned on a regular basis with from all the leaves.
Great, thank you so much, Lucinda.
I'm happy to jump in just a little bit there. So we have been able to get recycled water from Central Marin Sanitation Agency to use in our sweeper and also in our Vector truck for maintaining our sewer lines. So that's been the secret through all this MMW drought ordinance work. And then separately, whenever the timing is appropriate, Eli can circle back on that question about paving from Steve as well, if now is good.
Sure. If Lucinda, did that speak to your thanks there?
Yes, indeed. And I just wanted to add my comments with regard to the bathrooms and the porta potties. To me, a porta potty is a temporary situation. But I see down at Town Park, especially by the children's park, that seems to be more permanent. And I can't understand why Town of Corte Madera can't build a proper restroom facility instead of having these porta potties here and there. For special events, I totally understand, but to have them up all the time is, I think, denigrating our beautiful city. And I'd just like to see them on special occasions only. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucinda. And for what it's worth, personally, I do agree with you. I think porta potties are by their nature portable, temporary. And I think, if we're in a situation where we think we're going to be having a porta potty in a given location to meet a bathroom need permanently, then maybe it's worth looking at, whether there's justification for building a new bathroom facility. I feel like we do have, at least when they're all open and functioning, plenty of bathroom facilities in the town park area, but I certainly put my full faith and trust in the Parks and Rec master planning process to be able to lay that all out for us clearly and answer that question, once and for all. And I think I'm seeing the use of temporaries throughout town, the use of porta potties throughout town that are not for specific events as kind of an interim measure until we get that master planning process done. And then from there, we'll be in a position where we have the information we need to start looking at, do we have adequate permanent bathroom facilities? And if not, what needs to be done? And with that, RJ, do you want to just speak to, Steve actually looks like has left the call, but you want to just let us know real fast?
Well, a couple things on the current topic about bathrooms. Something actually we spent a good amount of time talking about in our kind of monthly maintenance meeting today was actually our current bathroom facilities, in particular the one here next to the tennis court and skate parks. It's actually getting vandalized almost daily with whether it be spray paint or etching or having stalls ripped off. So it's actually taking a lot of resources from our maintenance crew, and we're trying to figure out what might be a reasonable solution. I know Rochelle mentioned time locks, so we're kind of looking into that. But obviously, there's some, I think, does someone get locked in? There's some pros and cons that could happen. So we need to dive into that deeper. And then, do we put some sort of surveillance in the area, not necessarily in the bathroom, and the legalities behind that, but just something to throw in the mix as we talk about investing, big dollars in new facilities. Want to make sure they stay nice and aren't, vandalized. And then separately, I was just going to tell Steve, his road is in, the road he lives on, Hawthorne, is in a range that's kind of in that you kind of have to look and see range. There's not a clear-cut answer based on the rating itself. But in general, I was going to say, our paving strategies are dependent on a few things, kind of the overall volumes. Obviously, we're going to want to prioritize our busier roads, Tamalpais, Vista, and others, as opposed to a small residential cul-de-sac that may only have 5 property owners on it. The condition, kind of the overall kind of pavement engineering about, when are the opportune times to do things. So those are just some of the metrics we use. And so just want to kind of share a little bit of that decision-making process.
Great, thank you, RJ. And thanks also for letting us know about the vandalism problem at the public bathroom there. That's obviously upsetting to hear, but I think it's good for us to know. And I know that that's the type of thing that when we discuss permanent bathroom facilities, that's the type of thing that we consider, because obviously, like you said, we don't want to be throwing money at a new bathroom facility, for example, without investing and figuring out how we can protect it from vandalism and whatnot. So thanks for letting us know there. We're going to go to Patty Stoliar and then back to Pat Ravazio.
Well, I couldn't miss tagging on to the bathroom facilities discussion. With 1/4 of our population in Corte Madera being older adults, and then when you throw in pregnant women and little kids learning how to potty train, you can't possibly have too many park facilities. So I'm wondering if the survey did show that people need more bathrooms, how quickly could an actual bathroom evolve? Not a porta potty and not one of those luxury trailers, but an actual bathroom. What year would that be?
Good question, Patty. I'm not sure if that's a Rochelle, RJ, or Adam question. It looks like nobody else knows either.
Yeah.
Maybe you start, Adam, on the planning side, and then I can.
Sure. Yeah. So that was going to be Adam. Does that type of thing go through the full-blown planning process? Say we wanted to build a new freestanding little bathroom pavilion in Town Park, just hypothetically.
Yeah. Well, certainly that would fall under, I think, just from a planning process, it would fall under actually the town project approval process that we actually, the council ordinance, I think it was last September, where that was approved. So it would fall under, it is a structure, it is going to be visible. There would be a public review process as part of that. But obviously the first step is really getting that as a proposal with the same way that we sort of thought about, it sort of goes hand in hand with the budgeting and the finance and thinking about those things. But that's a process that anyways, in the planning stages, that there's as many meetings as possible that are required would be had. There'd probably be a workshop. The planning commission ultimately would have a chance to review it. And then the town council would be the ultimate deciders, and from a process standpoint. Go ahead, RJ.
I was just saying, then, yeah, I mean, if it's, if it's delivered to Public Works with here's a location, here's the size, here's about what it looks like, and we have the funding and let's go. Usually they're about a year, but that also depends on the overall priority. Where does it rank amongst the other projects that we want to move forward? So it's hard to say exactly, but yeah, if it was kind of highly prioritized, about a year once it's quote unquote approved by the community and the public and council.
Also,
Okay.
I would just say about the restrooms, about the vandalism. I mean, I think that's pretty typical challenge. I don't think RJ is making light of it. I really feel like that's just a thing that happens, and it's summer, and things like that start to happen when school's out. I'll just say that. But in terms of the locks on doors, the thing about them is you can't get into the restroom, but you can get out if you were in it and the lock engaged. You are able to get out. You just aren't able to get from the outside in after the lock's closed. And we have those in all the bathrooms pretty much in San Rafael. And, we do have people jam the locks and try to, be able to stay in there for more than a usual amount of time. But it does cut down on some of the other challenges that happen when you have restrooms open.
Good point, Rochelle. Thank you. And glad to hear that folks are not at risk of being locked in the bathroom. So thanks. Patty, did that kind of speak to your question about just sort of the general process?
So I'm thinking like a year and a half, 2 years. Does that seem reasonable from now?
Sounds reasonable.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, thank you. We're gonna go back to Pat Ravazio and then back to Phyllis. Oops, I just hit the wrong one, sorry.
Hey, so just a couple of extra things on the subject of the day, the bathrooms edition. Bathrooms are really important. They are so important that they're not likely to show up much on the survey because we're asking people about pickleball versus soccer versus basketball. They're not really thinking that they're going to need to go to the bathroom. It's not something people plan for. But it is really important. And it's so important that it was 2 years ago when the Parks and Rec Commission first began the long-term planning process. And we specifically, I'm not exactly sure what month it was, but we took a vote, I believe, to take the bathrooms out of the equation because they were of urgent need. We knew this was going to be a long-term process, but because the bathrooms were a short-term urgent need, we wanted to pull them out of the process. Now, the problem is Parks and Rec, the commission and staff are already so busy doing other things that I think somebody else needs to take on this bathroom project. I think it's bigger than Parks and Rec. It's about the way our community welcomes visitors. We have that huge amount of tax money coming in from the malls. It's the least we can do is to have our public spaces be maybe at least close to as nice as our palatial shopping malls. So I just think we owe it not only to the town, but to our visitors that we serve up that. So I think either town council or somebody needs to be assigned it. And I think it's just a huge job for Parks and Rec. It's too big. And it's supposed to be done before the long-term planning. That was always the plan. And to answer Patty's question, it's already been 2 years and we've accomplished zero, as far as I know, in terms of making progress on the bathrooms issue. So anyway, I'm done. I mean, I don't mean I'm done. I mean, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Pat. We're going to go back to Phyllis now.
Hi, thank you, Eli. Yes, I'm still on this issue too. And Rochelle, when you said something about the vandalism increasing because of summer, this has been a problem for years with that bathroom. Before RJ came on board, they were people, guys, I assume, were trashing the stalls, tearing the doors out. It wasn't just graffiti, they were absolutely ripping out the interior structures, plugging toilets, damaging them when they could, smashing them. So it's not just kids after school with nothing to do. And I agree with Pat. The idea of having bathrooms around that mothers can use when they have their kids, in the playground or whatever, just people walking around. we do need them. It's not a minor. It's not minor. And maybe in the interim, if it's going to take so long to build an actual bathroom, then maybe you do use the trailer type that I think, Rochelle, you're the one that brought that up, before we, and not have people have to see the town not doing anything for another 2 years, because as Pat said, it's already been 2 years and nothing has happened.
Okay, great. Thank you, Phyllis. Great. And we do not have any other hands up right now, so I'll just make a last call here for anybody else who wants to talk about anything bathroom related or otherwise. And if not, we can let folks go early. And I see Mike's hand up.
I just wanted to mention too, so I work with Public Works a lot, and I get to evaluate some of the vandalism that occurs at Town Park and throughout town actually, and some of which is tagging. And so we work with Central Marin Police Authority, and we start categorizing and photographing some of the tag, and they're unique to individuals. So we're compiling some of that information, and you know, we I'm hopeful that at some point we're going to be able to hold some of these individuals accountable for their behavior and their actions. And so this vandalism that's reported in the bathrooms, it's not exclusive to the bathrooms. It's at the skate park. It's around, the backstops. It's we had some just out in front here that just real minor small tags here, but our goal is to correct the behavior regardless of what that is. So if you have any influence on any of the youth around here, be that positive role model image and let people know that we're paying attention. We are categorizing these acts of vandalism, the tagging, and at some point it's going to catch up to someone. And those parents who, if it's a minor, they're going to be held accountable for the cleanup that is attributed to all of this vandalism over time. So these things do catch up to people. And I speak to that from an extensive history in law enforcement and following up with families who obviously, didn't have a grasp of what's happening when their children are in their purview. So anyway, that's I just wanted to add that it's not just the bathroom. It does occur throughout town, and we're on it. Our Public Works Department, we see it. Their crews are out there within hours, sometimes minutes, depending on what the tag or vandalism is, and they're covering it up. So these, I have a lot of respect for our RJ and his crew for the responsiveness, whether it's vandalism or it's illegal dumping. Our town and our employees are very responsive to the needs of the community. So thank you, RJ.
Great, thanks a lot for that, Mike, and glad to hear that you guys are working with CMPA to actually kind of catalog what we're seeing. And hopefully, like you said, hopefully it leads to some accountability. Let's go to Corte Madera resident next, and then back to Lucinda.
Hi, I was just listening to your tagging issue. Are you posting those tags anywhere? They're a signature of the kids, and as a mother, I know what kids tag what and what their signatures are. And if you go social media with that, or if the PD goes social media with that, we might be able to help you out.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that at this moment, but I will talk to the juvenile detective. A lot of police investigations are somewhat systematic and methodical, so I can't speak to how they're categorizing, but we share the information, and I think that's somewhat of a great idea. But oftentimes when, part of tagging is notoriety, and so the more attention things get to something, if you give a lot of attention to something, that tends to expand the act. And I'm not just talking about vandalism, but gang tags and things like that. That's why you don't see those types of things in the media, right? Because it gives praise to those individuals or those units. So
just
but
as
thank
a
you for the
mother,
oh no, I understand completely.
Well, I'm just thinking, I follow my children's Instagram accounts. I know exactly what they're doing.
Oh, please share.
If I knew, and I knew the mother of Johnny, for example, you can bet I'd be calling her.
I think that's wonderful. I really believe in, I raised 2 sons, it takes a village. And, many times I'd be on the phone with other parents and I receive the same type of phone calls, and it really just takes an open village to communicate some of the things they're seeing, some tendencies, and I think that that's a great idea. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. We're going to go back to Lucinda now.
Mike and RJ, I know that it's probably a very controversial subject, but I'd like to suggest putting cameras in. If we can catch some of these people via camera evidence, and even the fact that there's a camera and it's posted, it might alleviate some of this. Now, I know we can't really look inside the stalls, but maybe, and again, I don't know whether this is possible, but it seems to me that being able to film has given the police an awful lot of information that they otherwise haven't been able to get a hold of. People who have these Ring doorbells, porch pirates, they're able to get some of that information. So having some cameras around town and around these facilities that seem to be vandalized more frequently than others might be at least a partial answer.
No, I appreciate your suggestion, and you know, I totally understand the privacy laws with bathrooms, but that doesn't say that we can't install a large camera over the skate park, right? It protects the town, it documents some of the activity. And I will tell you that we've already started to address some camera issues in town. We had a problem with illegal dumping on Redwood Drive, Redwood Highway, just south of Warrenham, and it was just chronic, and it cost the town hundreds of dollars to collect the discarded material and haul it away to the dump. So we installed a camera sometime within the last year. It's probably 8 months or so. And just within the last 2 weeks, we caught the individual on footage. And even though we didn't have the license plate, we were able to identify this large truck based on prior contacts with special characteristics that are on this truck. So we've already notified that company. We are correcting the behavior, CMPA citing the driver, and that situation is resolved. So I think it's an excellent idea to at least sit with RJ, talk about what our options are with Rochelle as well, and see what we can do. We certainly wouldn't, you know, have any privacy issues around the bathroom, but you know, over time, if you're looking at Monday through Friday and you see vandalism at 4, you know, sometime after the door shut, you see the same individuals show up during the same days, you know, you can limit your suspect pool. So thank you for the suggestion. And, you know, we will certainly evaluate. There's a significant cost to cameras like this. And I believe the one over on Redwood Highway costs over $5,000. And then there's some network connectivity. I forget. Do you recall? Am I right? RJ, wasn't about $5,000 or something like that? But you know, the long
$6,000, and it was tied into our traffic signal, which you know had some benefits because we already had power there and whatnot. And then separately on but each illegal dump load was probably in excess of $1,000, probably maybe $2,000 each, and there were over 10 events over the prior year. So quickly you can kind of justify the camera from that aspect. But yeah, I think there's a little research or a good amount of research we still need to do. You know, I'm not even, honestly, I don't know that you can even put one inside a bathroom facility, even if it wasn't facing the stall. If you wanted to, you might not even be able to put one facing the entry point. You might have to put it further away. So again, those are, you know, the things we need to look into, and you might even have to post a sign, you know, notifying the public that they're under surveillance, you know, those sorts of things. And we're just kind of now kind of diving into that. So hopefully we'll have more as we can get time to, you know, dedicate to that, that option.
Great. Well, thank you guys. And thanks, Lucinda, for bringing that up. Was there anything else you wanted to chat about?
No, I just had to add that because I think that's a big deterrent. And
yeah,
to publicize it is, I think, the best way we can do to correct behavior.
Got it. Well,
we didn't know there was so much vandalism around town. I'm disappointed to hear about that. So something we can work on.
Yeah, thank you. And Mike, thank you for letting us know about the camera over on Redwood Highway. I had no idea that had happened, or that it had been successful in you know, helping us get to the root of this recurring problem. So that's fantastic news. Thank you very much for sharing that. We do not have any other hands up, so I think we can go ahead and wrap up. I just wanted to, say to recap, one of the main reasons that we do this is so that we can get a chance to hear what's on folks' minds. And I think, one thing that we heard loud and clear is, hey, Corte Madera, please take a critical look at what the situation is regarding porta potties and bathroom facilities in general around town. So I just wanted to let folks know that we hear you loud and clear on that. And I think, the message came across strong. So thank you guys for letting us know. Thank you obviously to all of our staff for taking the time out of your afternoon to join us and share your updates and answer questions. Thank you to all the residents who joined us to ask questions and bring up points for discussion. We have our next council meeting is going to be a week from this evening. So it's going to be next Tuesday at 6:30. That's going to be our last council meeting until September. No council meetings in August. That's kind of our staff work period. I don't know yet what the situation is going to be for community chats during August. We may do one possibly, but just want to let folks know August is going to be a quiet month for us, and we'll be back full swing in September. So thank you, everybody, and I hope to see you guys at Tuesday's council meeting. Take care.